Good morning, everyone. Good morning, guys. I hope I'm audible and visible to everyone. If I am, can you please let me know in the chat section? Good morning and good morning, Gagan. Good morning and welcome to Sriram IAS initiative on Unacademy platform. Now, in today's session, we are going to talk about relevant topics for your mains preparation. The reason why we are covering these topics is because we want us to make sure that every single aspirant, when they're sitting for mains examination, they have a certain level of wisdom with respect to all the topics that are coming up for GS3 component, GS1, GS2, all the components. So, what we are going to do, if you have noticed in the previous sessions as well, we are going to make sure that we follow a certain process. And this is just about me, my name, my qualifications, years of experience, and the kind of subjects that I take up. Now, if you notice the kind of topics that we have been taking, we have been from my end, me and Anshum sir, we both have been working on our Mission Mains 2023. Now, even if you are preparing for the next year, this Mission Mains 2023 is relevant for you all. Thank you. Thank you, Akanksha ji. Now, this mission mains is relevant for you all for one particular reason, because the way UPSC has been conducting the examinations, you would require in-depth analysis of various reports, various happenings that used to be relevant only for mains. But these sessions are particularly for mains perspective. So we would realize how to approach any topic for mains. In fact, me and Anshum sir, we have been handling certain subjects. Anshum sir has been handling your polity, IR, and the relevant related topics and subjects. From my end, I have been taking up your economics, science and tech, art and culture, and the miscellaneous topics that are relevant to the examination. Now, in this session, I have brought a multiple set of topics. I have brought multiple things for you guys. Make sure to watch this session till the end, because we have to be focusing on the relevant stuff, right? Just a second. Yep. Now, the first topic that we are going to discuss is green accounting. This is coming up from last year. See, when you are covering topics for mains, it should be at least from mains last year till mains this year. So I will be following this approach for us as well. So green accounting is something that was recently in news, and we will focus on what green accounting is. If you have any doubts, I have been looking at your chat section, so you can ask any doubts from that portal itself. Okay. And if you have not yet done this, make sure to follow me on Unacademy platform as well, because we are bringing a lot of information there on free live classes, special classes, and also through courses. So make sure that you follow me on Unacademy. Now, green accounting has been a major talk of the town when it comes to environment and environmental impact. So ecologists and environmental economists, they have tried to find out how superficially various countries, they have been maintaining their financial and national accounts with respect to green budgeting, and with respect to how investments have been happening within the sector of green economy. So the amount spent on building human skills, providing education, nutrition, safeguarding health, land, air, water quality improvement and enhancement, reducing pollution, and improving forest health, for example, they have been classified as expenditures. These are consumption expenditures in the national accounts. So you should know what are the part of expenditures, whereas all the associated construction and equipment purchased, if you keep that aside, this entire thing is a portion of your consumption expenditure when you are maintaining national accounts. Building on human skills, providing education, nutrition, safeguarding health, land, air, water quality improvement, all of this is a part of consumption expenditure in accounting. But if you follow green accounting is a different type of accounting process. It's not just merely a financial accounting system. So, a type of accounting that attempts to factor environmental costs into financial results of various operations is basically green accounting. We are going to study the various reports with respect to green accounting. This is just a brief introduction of what green accounting is. Make sure that you note certain things down, because if you note down certain things, you will have access to greater information. What I would recommend is that you should have pages, A4 sheets, where you can note down every single thing that we are quoting. Just make a list of things, just make different segmentation, categorize them, उनको categories में बांट दीजिए, so that it is easier for you to remember and also revise when mains comes. Because before mains and after prelims, you cannot invest more time into it. It should always be, mains should always be prepared before prelims. क्योंकि ज्यादा समय नहीं मिलता है ना? So it has also been argued that GDP concept, it basically ignores environment, and the policy makers, they need a revised model, and that is why we have moved towards green accounting. We have started looking at green accounting as a plausible not replacement but an enhancement of what is being already done. Already what is happening is based on the financial accounting systems that we follow. But today, we need to have sustainability checks on the outputs that are generated through the financial investments and the expenditure, the consumption expenditure that the economy is making. So, national accounts, they measure the output by assessing income generation, how much income is being generated. But whereas, if you talk about environmental economic accounts, they measure output as a change in the natural capital, not the national capital, as distinct to physical capital, basically. So, environmental capital or natural capital is a bit different. The natural capital is not roads, machinery, equipments, buildings, infrastructure. It is rather the way nature is being made more sustainable. Hello, Archana ji. Welcome to the class. Now, the basic flaw with national accounts, where you are focusing on financial systems, is that it does not have any kind of sustainability check. And that is what is needed today. I was reading a report from today's newspapers where it was being said that by 2050, the need for ACs and need for water would go 4 times in India by 2050. Now, this data as such is relevant for you guys when you're writing your introductions to various answers. If you are following Sriram's IAS, you would get an idea that we at Sriram's IAS are bringing on Unacademy UPSC Articulate YouTube channel multiple सेशंस जिसमें आपको मेंस की प्रिपरेशन करवाई जा रही है, including these sessions which are current affairs based, and also various other answer writing sessions for various subjects, GS1, GS2, GS3 and GS4. Make sure to follow them as well. Now, in fact, I have only recently uploaded a video session on Unacademy UPSC Articulate channel with respect to social capital. Now, that concept of social capital is actually quite relevant here as well. क्योंकि सोशल कैपिटल की यूटिलिटी को आप जब यहां अप्लाई करते हैं, वेयर वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट नेचुरल कैपिटल और वेयर वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट सस्टेनेबिलिटी, social capital can actually play wonders the way we have to consider social capital. तो अगर आपको नहीं मालूम है क्या social capital है, I will share the links with you guys in the comment section after this session. And if you want me to do it right now, I can do it right now as well. But make sure that you watch that session as well. Now, so environmental economists, they have started to worry about how you would ensure sustainability, and instead of deducting the value of natural capital as such, which is degraded in the process of generating income, because when you are generating income through infrastructure, building roads, machineries, etc., you are actually degrading the natural capital, and it is reducing the sustainability, because the way India is moving forward, it is a bit towards us unsustainability. And it has happened not just with India, many other nations which have picked up on growth trajectories, they have done it on unsustainable means. So, how to make sure that this economic growth does not have negative impact? It rather has a positive impact. Just a second. Now, as far as negative impact is concerned, it is basically unsustainable. Why? Because it is basically borrowing from the future to enjoy incomes of today. It is like a Ponzi scheme that cannot be played endlessly, because it is not based on money which the economy can print. It is based on natural resources that we have very limited of. The basic flaw with the concept of natural resources is that we apply a logic of substitutability in terms of natural resources. Now, this is a very flawed, a very flawed approach towards natural resources. We say that we have endless supply of solar energy, we have endless supply of wind energy, we have endless supply of, say, oceanothermal energy or ocean energy. We have endless supplies of various natural resources, and the infinite supply that we attribute is the most flawed logic that we have. The problem is that when we are following unsustainable means right now for economic growth, they will further lead to enhanced requirements for natural resources, and we might not have those technologies or those capacities to make sure that we end up being sustainable in the later part. It was easier. It was easier to tackle climate change had it been 1950s. But today is not 1950s, it is 2020s. How difficult it is to cater to climate change. The extreme weather conditions that are happening, it is so difficult to survive and thrive. Many people lose their lives during the heat waves that are going on right now. For example, I don't know from where you are. Gagan, negative growth basically means that you are having growth, but at the cost of natural capital. So the natural capital actually is going down. Negative connotation is with respect to the natural capital or the natural resources and the sustainability of those natural resources, because the growth itself is unsustainable. That is why it is negative growth. So you are having growth in terms of economy. GDP is growing, but at the cost of natural capital. That is why it is negative. The logic of not accounting for the stock of natural capitals, it was basically first talked about by the United Nations Statistical Commission. Now, it approved a system of national accounting which is followed worldwide. UNSC, United Nations Statistical Commission. And if you have been attending these sessions where I have discussed in economy, where I have discussed, you know, IMFs related and accounting related, GDP related stuff, you would have known where UNSC and what kind of standards, the international accounting standards that it follows. And they have been revamped in the last few years. Now, the way they have been revamped and the way we have to change in the manner we perceive these accounting standards is right now the topic of discussion. For example, wood can be replaced by limestone based cement, and iron, for example, for building houses. Coal is replaceable with petroleum, oil, natural gas, biofuels, or newer forms of renewable energy as far as our energy requirements are concerned. Ecologists and environmentalists, they have rejected the assumption of infinite sustainability of these natural resources, where you are basically, even if replacing unsustainable towards our perceived present day sustainability or substitutability based natural resources. This is where the change is happening. This is where this topic becomes relevant. What we need to see is that the stock of natural resources as an outcome of innumerable complementary processes. It is not an end result. It is merely not an end result. It is an entire set of innumerable complementary processes between specific resources which are linking each other together. So the natural capital that we are perceiving right now, that natural capital is not just associated with the existence of your natural resources. It is also all those processes which end up in becoming those natural resources. So you cannot even harm those natural resources, right? So based on that, what this particular report, what this particular topic has as an agenda, number one, जीडीपी ग्रोथ फोकस अगर आप रखते हैं, that leads to negative growth. Number one thing that we have to focus on. Number two thing that we have to focus on is that natural capital, when it comes to environmental economists, the natural capital that they perceive is being harmed because of this negative growth, and that is why the term negative has been added. The third thing that you have to perceive from this topic is the fact that you will have to incorporate accounting standards and variations and reforms in accounting of national accounts so that you incorporate this aspect. Number four, you will have to know. We will be talking about various facts now. We will talk about various reports as well. But in generic sense, what you will be able to write down in the answers. आप answers में क्या लिखेंगे वो मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ. So number four thing that you will have to understand is that natural resources are not just an outcome. They are basically an outcome of multiple complex processes. So when you are pursuing growth or negative growth in that sense, you are basically challenging the sustainability of these processes themselves. And that is where the problem lies. So extracting a part of the whole could also disturb the equilibrium. If you are hampering the processes, that also will have a negative impact on the natural resources, and it can destabilize the ecosystem. It can cause a tipping point aspect, where tipping point is if this is the equilibrium, for example, and if you keep poking it, then it will become unsustainable, and at one point it will tip off. It will tip off. And that is a phrase that the world we are living in, we are quite familiar with the concept of tipping off. It has been used with respect to the carbon emissions, which is basically going to enhance the climate change variability and a lot of aspects on global warming. Now, we have been using this term for a while. In fact, since 2012, ever since the concept of climate change and global warming became quite too famous. It was being discussed ever since 1980s, but it became famous in 2012. Now we have been discussing this for a while. Acha, rather 2002 and 2012 both. Now, there has been a system of environmental economic accounts. Now, this accounting system was formulated by UNSC, the Statistical Commission itself. This is not Security Council. Remember this. This is not Security Council for all those individuals who are making notes simultaneously. It is basically your Statistical Commission. Now, they formulated certain accounting standards, a system of environmental economic accounts, SEA, and it was developed in 2012. You should know this. This is, of course, relevant for your prelims examination, but also majorly relevant for your mains examination. Now, this central framework is applied to the principles and concepts of accounting that is a part of SNA. Now, in SNA, the System of National Accounts, if you have been studying accurately, this SNA is the accounting standards that are existent for the entire world, that the entire world follows. And where you have environmental information within these accounting systems, basically that is where your SEEA, the system of environmental economic accounts, is to be incorporated. This allows for an integration of environmental information into the economic information and to create a single framework. Now, for India, we have a graduated approach towards green accounting. What is this graduated approach? Because we need to understand India as a case study. See, whenever you are talking about any international example, when you're talking about any international event or any happening that is at the international level, you should, at least for mains perspective, have India's case study, number one. And second thing, you need to have any international country, any country plus India. Consider at least two case studies so that you can use them as an example. मैं आपका काम आसान कर रहा हूं, आपको बता रहा हूं कि अगर आपने सिर्फ दो भी कर लिए, that would be enough, that would be sufficient. And make sure that you note these down, because I've brought two case studies again, for one for India and one for another country. So I would let you know throughout this course, I would make sure that I keep bringing examples that are in line with your answer writing. अच्छा, जिस तरीके से इसको स्ट्रक्चर किया जा रहा है, the way I have structured this entire topic is the way you should be structuring the topic when it comes to answer writing as well. So make sure that you bring all of this down into points format. If you write them down into points format, the way I am concising it all down for you all. So if you do that, you will certainly benefit from it. All right. Now for India, it is the Central Statistical Organization which takes the lead while embedding the environmental economic evaluations with respect to national capital and the natural capital stocks and services. So it is based on, see, the accounting standards that we follow, it is based on the concept of stock and flow. So you should know this basic difference between stock and flow when you're covering the topic of GDP. If you know what it is, mention that in the chat section and I'll tell you if it is right or wrong. Now, ever since 1992 Earth Summit came into being, CSO started producing a framework for development of environmental statistics, that is FDES. Now, if you follow various websites of ministries, you should know this. If you have been following the right track even for your prelims examination, then you should know what it is. The problem lies in the fact that we tend to skip on all these things, right? So do not skip on all these things. Acha. So this FDES is basically the framework that actually CSO, the Central Statistical Organization, is using after and ever since 1992 Earth Summit. Further, we have also released, this is CSO's release, it is a periodical report which is updated periodically, a compendium of environmental statistics. This CES is basically a report in the manner that you incorporate environmental information into your national accounting standards. Further, Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation has commissioned number of studies between 2000 to 2006 to evaluate the the natural capital of land, forest, air, water, and subsoil resources. There was a expert group which was chaired by Sir Patho Das Gupta, and he released a report. They released a report called the Green National Accounts in India in 2013. It was a report a it is a decade old report, but it is still relevant, guys, because the framework is still being implemented in bits and pieces. So it proposed a framework which was aligned with the international standards. The statistical commission, the United Nations Statistical Commission, that had come up with SIA, the Environmental Economic Accounting Standards. Now, based on these standards, based on this framework, the national green national accounts of India will also be incorporated. So, CSO released a physical account of four resources in 2018. This was for the first time that CSO delved into this topic: land, water, minor minerals, and forests. Land, water, minor minerals, and forests. These were the four topics and four areas, broad areas, which CSO released environmental data on. The next year, we had the NV Stats India 2019 report, and that added a quality index for two more resources, soil and water, and valued two services, which is cropland ecosystem services. I will talk about the definition and the way cropland ecosystem services work, and the natural based tourism services. So, on that basis, the impact on the environment was to be measured. Now, cropland ecosystem services is associated particularly with agriculture and land associated with agriculture. Whereas natural resources based tourism services is basically based on ecotourism. The two more aspects of environment they have been incorporated. Now, if you notice, जिस तरीके का ये टॉपिक है, ये टॉपिक काफी enriched टॉपिक है. इसके अंदर you find so many facts, you find so many analytical aspects where you can actually write down a full-fledged answer. Let alone answer, there can be an entire essay associated with environment and the impact on the environment and sustainability. So there can be a phrase or an idiom based essay, which is basically now the way UPSC has been asking essays as well. So it can work wonders if you work on this topic and such topics. You find out these topics. See, your preparation for mains, the approach might be similar for prelims. You might think that the approach is similar from prelims as compared to mains preparation, but the kind of topics in the manner that you cover them is changing. So you will have to upgrade yourself when it comes to mains preparation. Go into in deeper analysis, go into better analysis of various things so that you can write down an essay or an account of all the things that are relevant to that topic in a particular manner, depending upon the directive that has been given in the question. If it is, say, for example, your comment, critically analyze various other things, right? So critical analysis देना है, क्या देना है, वो उसके basis पर आप उसको mold करके अपना answer लिख सकते हैं. Now, one more thing, guys, we have been having these sessions. This is the third week that we are having this session, and also make sure that you follow both the sessions on Saturday as well as on Sunday. Both of them happen at 10 a.m. You should know this. आज अंशुम सर की क्लास थी, आज मैं ले रहा हूँ, कल अंशुम सर ले. So there will be two classes every single week. You should follow this entire series. There have already been around 4 classes that you can watch on the Unacademy UPSC Articulate channel. Unacademy UPSC Articulate channel. This is the channel that you're watching this session on. Acha. Now, the concept of accounting or green national accounting in India, it changed its gears in 1992. CSO picked up this FDES framework. Then in 1997, a compendium of environmental statistics. This report was released, and based on this report, a periodical release of multiple reports happened. So this was the first time 1997 में, और उसके बाद multiple reports आई. From 2000 till 2006, many studies, research studies were commissioned by Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation to start assessing environmental impacts and various other aspects of environmental accounting and try to incorporate environmental impacts into the accounting standards that we follow. Further, Dr. Pathodas Gupta's report, which was released on Green National Accounts in India. This was the title of the report. This was released in 2013, which had proposed a framework which was in line with the United Nations Statistical Commission's framework of SEEA. Further, CSO picked up on physical account for four resources: land, water, minor minerals, and forests. This happened as latest as 2018. Then in 2019, you had environment ENVI report, ENVI Stats India report, which further added the quality index of two resources, soil and water, and then further picked up on valued aspect of two services. It started valuing two services. Number one, it was cropland ecosystem relating to agriculture. Number two, natural resources based tourism services or ecotourism related aspects. Further, the task of making government financial accounting systems compatible with the environmental economic accounting systems. This has been led by the Government Accounting Standards Advisory Board, GAZAB. इफ यू रिमेंबर देयर इज दिस सॉन्ग गजब का है दिन. तो दिन गजब का तभी होता है जब आप एनवायरमेंटल अकाउंटिंग को इनकॉर्पोरेट करते हैं. So this is working under the Comptroller and the Auditor General of India. So CAG has this specialized agency within its organizational setup, Government Accounting Standards Advisory Board. Now this has published a concept paper as recent as 2020 June, and this paper has been titled Natural Resource Accounting in India. Now, Comptroller and Auditor General of India is basically related to the auditing aspects. Now, unless and until, if you, for example, if you start incorporating accounting standards, environmental accounting standards into your national accounts, that is the front end basically. But the back end checkup, the accountability which is to be catered by CAG, if CAG did not have any resources or any means to tackle that, then there is no point in bringing out the information. अगर उस इंफॉर्मेशन के बेसिस पर आपकी अकाउंटेबिलिटी नहीं होगी, जवाबदेही नहीं होगी, तो हाउ वुड यू एंश्योर एनी any form of suitability and effectiveness of such accounting standards? And for that reason, CAG came up with this Government Accounting Standards Advisory Board, and which publishes a concept paper, National Resource Accounting in India, in June 2020. All right. So based on this, you would have to realize how every single aspect of accounting has happened. So this is a background check of everything relating to green accounting. If you have any doubts with respect to green accounting, you can ask them in your chat section. Every single thing that I have explained covers the topic in a holistic manner. Make sure that you keep asking your doubts. Gagan, Akanksha, Archana, I hope everything is clear. सब कुछ सही है. चले आगे. चलो. Now we have to talk about biodiversity mainstream. Again, this is a topic which is relating to particularly environment, and it is a part of GS3 component. Do not consider the first topic that we had covered and this topic, do not consider them to be a part of GS1. That will be a mistake. You might use these topics as an example, but ये GS3 component का part है. They are quite relevant for GS3 rather than GS2. Now, biodiversity mainstreaming. It is in a recent report in October 2022, there was a World Forest Week that was celebrated in Rome, and this was happening on the sidelines of 26th session of Committee on Forestry, COFO. This Committee on Forestry basically conducted the World Forest Week in October. Every October, this Forest Week, World Forest Week, is celebrated. Last year it happened in Rome because it is October. This year's examination is going to happen before this. So this last report and last Forest Week is going to be relevant for us. Now, this report was produced through a partnership of various agencies, FAO being the major nodal agency. Food and Agricultural Organization comes under the ambit and auspices of United Nations. and various other non-profit agencies, particularly Center for International Forestry Research, CFOR. Now, this is the leading center of CGIAR research program on forest, trees, and agroforestry. What is the full form of CGIAR? Tell me in the chat section. What is the full form of CGIAR? Now, in 2019, FAO had adopted a strategy on mainstreaming biodiversity across agricultural sectors. Let me talk about biodiversity mainstreaming and let me talk about this particular aspect, the strategy on mainstreaming biodiversity. Agriculture itself is a resemblance of ecosystem. The agricultural ecosystems, they tend to be quite close to the nature. When agar if you start road tripping through Punjab or Haryana or UP or certain parts of the country, for example West Bengal में भी कुछ हिस्सों में जाएंगे, बिहार में कुछ हिस्सों में जाएंगे, you will मध्य प्रदेश जाते हैं, and various other aspects of this country, various other physiological features of this country, you go through the entire nation road tripping. The most picturesque view that you find is of plush greens, tracts of land where people are pursuing agriculture. It is a sight for sore eyes, right? But there is a challenge. There is something which is quite a big challenge which is posed by agriculture, and that is the threat to biodiversity. There is a threat to biodiversity by agriculture, and this is something that we have to realize. As soon as we do that, better we do that, as early as we do that, the better it is. Now, with respect to biodiversity. Why do I say that agriculture is undermining biodiversity? Many a times when we pick up on certain kinds of seeds, many a times when we pick up on, say, genetically modified seeds, that is a threat to biodiversity, because biodiversity is not about extensively utilizing the resources that land is providing you, or maybe using excessive fertilizers, chemical pesticides, insecticides, weedicides, etc. It's not about that, because that particularly is a harmful aspect of agriculture, and it is going to have a negative impact, and is rather having a negative impact on environment. So environmental impact of the green revolution, the first green revolution, is huge. That is being a major problem for areas of Punjab, Haryana, Western UP. But we are not discussing that. What we are discussing is biodiversity. And why do we think that agriculture is not sine qua non? Why is agriculture not equal to biodiversity? So, my question to you is, do we follow multi cropping? No. Do we follow cropping systems that enhance the productivity of land? Majorly no, because it is more on the paper and less in practicability. Further, are we following agroforestry? Are we enhancing the environmental stock or the carbon stock of one unit piece of land? No, we are not. So, why do we think that agriculture is the same as biodiversity? We might have agriculture helping us with respect to cleaning the environment. They can act as natural carbon sinks, but right now, the agriculture and the allied sectors, they are the leading source of greenhouse gas emissions. Leading source, that means the number one, ranked one as the greenhouse gas emitter, is this particular sector, the agriculture and allied sector. क्यों? क्योंकि इसके अंदर लाइफ स्टॉक फार्मिंग भी आ जाती है, बहुत सारी चीजें आ जाती हैं, केमिकल फर्टिलाइजर्स, उनका यूसेज, and further production of those chemical fertilizers as well. So basically all the aspects associated with agriculture, they have led to the maximum greenhouse gas emission. So definitely agriculture is not sine qua non, is not the same as, and you cannot consider agriculture to be enhancing biodiversity. And that is why we need to have a strategy to mainstream a biodiversity into agricultural sectors. So how do we do that? Once we have understood the meaning of this concept, let's understand how would we follow this. Now, the major relevance is of this Committee on Forestry. Committee on Forestry is the major nodal agency, the central agency, and the statutory body working under the auspices of Food and Agricultural Organization. This is taking care of this particular strategy. Now, further, just a second, guys. Yep. I hope you have shared this session's link with the friends and all those individuals who are preparing for the exam. If you have not yet done that, please make sure that you do that outrightly. And also, if you have not yet liked the video, you should like the video so that you have it stored in your liked videos. आप कभी भी कोई भी topic से related doubts है आप comments में जाकर डाल दीजिए. I will be able to respond as well. It's a long session of 2.5 hours. We are going to go into the details, and this is going to continue till your mains examination. So this is not a one-off or a spin-off session. This is not just for 1 week or a month. It is till your mains, till mains 2023. We will keep coming for you. We will make sure that your preparation is more robust and you are well prepared. All right? Chalo. Now, so meaning is basically embedding biodiversity considerations into policies, strategies, and practices. It is not about outrightly implementing things. It is basically creating a framework of strategies of policies with respect to key public and private sectors so that you are promoting conservation and sustainable usage of natural resources, particularly if you are talking about mainstreaming biodiversity into agricultural sectors, then particularly when we are talking about natural resources in the sense we are talking about agricultural sector and the related natural resources, land, water, etc. Now, when you are by mainstreaming it in forestry, for example, then you're prioritizing forest policies, plans, programs, trying to make them in such a manner that it has a positive impact on the biodiversity of that ecosystem. Now, if you're doing it for agriculture sector, then it is for the agriculture sector. Biodiversity mainstreaming in forest sector requires an integrated multi-stakeholder approach that is cross-sectoral boundaries. The problem with mainstreaming biodiversity in forestry is also associated with the tribal people and the tribal population that resides amongst these forests. So, tribal population faces a problem of the minor forest produce, their land rights, and the way they have to commit to their traditional and cultural practices, which sometimes go against the sustainable usage and the sustainability of those forests. And that is where the problem lies as well with respect to forestry. As far as we are concerned and the rest of the world, it is CGIAR, which the full form you are going to tell me in the comment section. CGIAR is basically a global partnership that is uniting international organizations so that you can research about food security. It's not just about India. But the problem is that when we talk about India, India is, given that we today are the youngest population, maybe number one hai, population maybe number one hai. So given that we are requiring a certain level of food security, it is certainly relevant, particularly for India. And of course, apart from India, various other third world countries and African nations, which are also facing a problem with respect to food security and sustainable means of food security in the upcoming years. Now, it is far more, it is easier for you to remember CGIR through our, process where, if you remember, we have already covered International Rice Research Institute, IRI, International Rice Research Institute. Now, IRI is basically a famous subsidiary of CGIAR. There are certain African counterparts and African centers as well, but IRI is far more famous. So I made sure that you know this, that IRI is associated with CGIAR. Now, what is the significance of incorporating biodiversity into forestry? When you incorporate or mainstream biodiversity when it comes to forest policies, number one thing, forests are home to world's terrestrial biodiversity. and even to a certain extent aquatic biodiversities, because major forests, they have some water body flowing through them, or they have some water bodies or lakes which are static. They are present in various forests. Forests cover 31% of the world's land surface. It's about land surface, and store approximately around 300 gigatons, 296 gigatons of carbon. They are acting as carbon sinks. World forests produce about 80% of amphibian species, 75% of bird species, 68% of mammal species. They are the habitat of these many species on the planet. 60% of all vascular plants, they occur in tropical forest in such a small zone. And forests role has been incorporated in the report of the United Nations Strategic Plan for Forests 2017-2030. I would be making sure that the recommendations of the report are there present for you all. Make sure that you go through the description, because you will find various links where you can join and have access to all this information that has been made available to you on the Unacademy UPSC Articulate channel. This entire session is being brought to you by Sriram IAS. Now, so what are the recommendations of this report? Let's understand. Number one thing, they are asking you to halt and reverse deforestation. Stopping deforestation, reversing deforestation, which means afforestation. Combating illegal and unregulated forest activities, so that you can make sure that there are no leakages in the system. Recognizing forest tenure of indigenous people, local communities, the problem that I had discussed, which is associated with this recommendation. Preventing conversion of natural forests. There are natural forests and then there are man-made forests. Natural forests have higher biodiversity. Generally, man-made forests have lesser biodiversity, given that man-made forests do not follow the basic growth trajectory of any forest, because a forest, when it is being made on its own in natural processes, it creates so many biodiversity, so many biodiverse species that are in sync, they are in a symbiotic relationship within that ecosystem. But when you are creating man-made forests, you are just adding forestry, you're just adding trees to the land. And it is only after a couple of years that that system of trees, that is a man-made system, starts converting itself into a forest. Because a forest is like a family, everybody has a role. Just like that, every species within the forest has a role to play. Now, it can be basically preventing the conversion of natural forests into monospecific forest plantations. What is this monospecific forest plantation? Basically, when you are trying to convert something in principle, नेचुरल फॉरेस्ट को अगर मैनमेड फॉरेस्ट जैसा इमेजिन करें, तो वो प्रॉब्लम है, उसे रोकना. Because man-made forests, or in general monospecific forest plantations, they have very simplific and very limited number of species present in them. So you will also have to ensure sustainable management of harvested species in the forest. Sustainable management, because wood as a resource is required for the economic growth as well. So you still have to work on that. Further, you will have to manage and control any kind of invasive and overabundant species. There are a number of species that come up over a period of time that you should note them down. See, if it was about species, let me tell you one thing. You should have access to at least 2 years of last 2 years of current affairs when it comes to prelims. In prelims, species can come from anywhere last 2 years. If you remember that we have covered from 1.5 to 2 years of current affairs as well. Now, basically, the approach should be like this, so that you have better access to information. Guys, let me tell you one thing. The problem with the latest regime that UPSC has picked up on, and the way it is being perceived by students, in the manner that many teachers, many mentors, they are making sure that information is made available for you all. One should realize this, and it is a matter of fact. Understand this very accurately. Now, जहां पर यूपीएससी की बात होती है, यूपीएससी अपना पैटर्न जो है वो सस्टेन करके चलती है. इट इज जस्ट द वे दैट इट पिक्स अप ऑन टॉपिक्स दैट कीप्स ऑन चेंजिंग. So what we have to realize is that we cannot stop accumulating information. We cannot stop understanding that particular information in a specific manner. अगर आप इंफॉर्मेशन को सही ढंग से यूटिलाइज नहीं करेंगे तो वो चीज प्रीलिम्स के अंदर प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट करती है. इट will also be a problem in mains. So the way you basically infest yourself or induct yourself with any kind of information, that also has to be changed and it has to be upgraded. अगर आप पिछली बार से इस बार में अपनी स्ट्रैटेजी को अपग्रेड नहीं कर रहे हैं, then there will be problems. Now further, leveraging global momentum on restoration to enhance biodiversity conservation. So you will have to utilize the global momentum on restoring biodiversity, enhancing conservation practices. Multi-sectoral perspective की जरूरत है. Economic incentives provide कीजिए so that you enhance investments into this particular system. Facilitate market-based instruments, investing in knowledge and capacity development. Now, I told you, India as a case study that we have seen. Further, case study of DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. Now, indigenous people, the way they have been incorporated, local communities, they have been incorporating, private sector, the way they have leveraged the capacity of private sector in biodiversity management. It should be a priority, and laws, policies, national strategies should consider forests other than protected areas separately to enhance and mainstream biodiversity. What do you mean by mainstreaming biodiversity? हम इतनी देर से mainstreaming biodiversity की बात कर रहे हैं, इसका मतलब क्या है? Basically, to incorporate into the think tank processes that the country is going through, to create plans, priorities, strategies, policies, laws, regulations, rules. इन सब चीजों को, लॉ को क्रिएट करने में आप कहीं पर भी बायोडाइवर्सिटी को साइडलाइन मत कीजिए. So if you're mainstreaming biodiversity into the thought process of creating all these laws, policies, strategies, etc., then you're mainstreaming biodiversity. All right. So let's move further and talk about another aspect of agriculture sector, again a part of your GS3 component, and that is cotton production in India. Very recently, in October last year, we had celebrated the World Cotton Day, and this is the third anniversary celebration of the international event. And the theme that was celebrated last year was weaving a better future for cotton. Now, better cotton and BT cotton, these are two major points that we have to look out for in this particular topic. So, इस topic को cover करते हुए इन दो चीजों का खास ख्याल रखेगा. Now, no less than 6 million small to medium-sized Indian cotton farmers and farm workers, they participate in the global value chain of cotton. Cotton as a crop in India is quite relevant. So let's understand all the aspects of cotton and cotton production in India. I will be talking about the details of how cotton is being produced. I will be talking about the details with respect to the economic aspects of cotton production as well. All right. So let's begin. If you have not understood anything up to this point, all you have to do is ask. All right. And make sure that you have liked the session and shared it with your friends. I always say this, that anyone who is basically wanting to enhance their capacity, anyone who is wanting to improve their own physical and mental capabilities, they should pursue the dream of becoming a civil servant. एक आईएएस ऑफिसर बनने से और ही ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट और प्रोमिनेंट है आईएएस ऑफिसर बनने की तैयारी. दिस प्रेपरेशन that you go through, this journey that you go through, it If I'm audible and visible to all, please let me know in the chat section so that we can proceed further. It was basically a power trip. वापस आ गई है. दिल्ली में जनरली ऐसा होता नहीं है आजकल. आजकल नहीं होता है. Right? Just a second. चलो, let's continue. Now, global textile supply. Okay, I am not audible. Am I audible now? I am audible now, right? Just let me just check. Give me one sec. A second. No? Yes. Now I am audible. Now, so basically, what I've said is that these upgradations that we are wanting to have, particularly in the textile industry, with respect to environmental impact, with respect to the social impact, this is being done through the process of voluntary sustainability standards. VSS basically is going to have certification schemes, labeling programs, private standards, so that you have better एक्सेप्टेंस ऑफ वेरियस प्रोसेसेस जिसकी वजह से कॉटन प्रोडक्शन एंड टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री के अंदर एनवायरमेंटल इंपैक्ट को रिड्यूस किया जा सकता है, सोशल इंपैक्ट को बेसिकली एनहांस किया जा सकता है. सो व्हाट आर द मेजर वीएसएस और वॉलंटरी सस्टेनेबिलिटी स्टैंडर्ड्स that are being used in the sustainable cotton value chain today? For example, one is the Better Cotton Initiative, the BCI. Then you have the organic cotton OC, then fair trade cotton and cotton made in Africa. These are the major international initiatives that have been taken up in this particular segment. Then what are the benefits for India to adopt these VSS standards? Number one thing, it will help us remain globally competitive and relevant when it comes to cotton supply chains. So yes, we should pick up on this. Second thing, that is the total cotton area under VSS It has reached 1.5 million hectares, which means 25% of the global VSS cotton area. So total cotton area under VSS is increasing day by day. That is also one of the reasons that we should move towards the VSS processes. VSS processes is basically using various certification programs, labeling programs where we can label cotton being produced on the basis of the processes that we have utilized to produce cotton. Approximately zero point 0.2 million hectares of area under production. It is the largest producer of cotton. In fact, if when it comes to organic cotton, it is the 50% share in the global market that we have, and we are the second largest producer of better cotton in the world. The Better Cotton Initiative, if you remember, I have talked about it right here. Further, it accounts for 16.5% of total better cotton production in terms of coverage in area, that is 1.5 million hectares. So basically, 1.5 million hectares of cotton area that we have is under the VSS program. Now, it clearly indicates that VSS cotton growth story in India has already demonstrated as an example its contribution towards sustainable development goals, particularly goal number 2, which is zero hunger. Why zero hunger? Because it ensures a certain level of income for the farmers, and income security leads to food security. Then the clean water and sanitation, goal number 6, consumption and production being done responsibly, goal number 12, life on land, goal number 15, and goal 16 is climate action. All these aspects are actually a part and parcel of, if you pick up VSS, then it will help you overcome and rather achieve these targets of our sustainable development goals. Further, VSS cotton is delivering real measurable outcomes. How? It is making sure that under various indicators, the way we measure the productivity of cotton, it is basically with respect to the extent of water bodies that are being polluted or that are being utilized, improving groundwater withdrawal against availability, rationalizing nitrogen fertilizers that are being used. All of this has been outlined by the Niti Aayog, which basically maps India's sustainable development goals. It is through the Niti Aayog think tank research analysis that we realize that VSS, voluntary sustainability standards, that are a global phenomena for cotton production, it has a positive impact on India as well. Now, just a brief aspect of cotton production in India. Number one, it is the largest producer. Number two, it is the third largest exporter. Number three, it is the largest consumer. So, largest producer and consumer. Number two, the largest exporter for cotton. The top cotton producing states include Gujarat, Maharashtra, Telangana, and Andhra Pradesh. So you have Gujarat, Maharashtra, Telangana, and Andhra Pradesh as major cotton producing states. Four species, all four species are cultivated in India. All four species of cultivated cotton are grown in India. What are these species? You should know the name. At least you should have a brief idea about the names of these species. G. arboreum, G. herbaceum, which is Asian cotton. हर्बेशियम से एशियन कॉटन ऐसे याद रख लीजिएगा. फर्दर, जी बारबेडेंस, दिस इज इजिप्शियन कॉटन. जी हिर्सुटम, which is American upland cotton. So you have Asian cotton, two species, Egyptian cotton, and then American cotton. So these are four varieties of cotton that are majorly grown in the world, and India has all four of these species being grown in India. In fact, it is the American upland cotton which accounts for 94% of hybrid cotton production in India. 94%. And it is all the current BT cotton hybrids that we are growing. It is entirely hirsutum. The G. hirsutum variety, the American upland cotton variety, is the variety that we use when we are genetically modifying cotton. Remember this. Number two, India's cotton today has a brand name called Kasturi cotton. and the world cotton trade. So this, of course, is also relevant. You should not skip on mentioning this in your mains answers. Pest resistant hai GMBT cotton hybrids. They are basically the hirsutum varieties which are being genetically modified. It is not the Asian cotton that is being genetically modified. All of the BT cotton is coming from G. hirsutum. This is the American upland cotton. Remember this. ये चीज fact याद रखने लायक है. If you are going to be appearing in prelims next year, then also and otherwise as well for mains preparation. दोनों के लिए बहुत important. Now, as far as cotton crop is concerned, it is a kharif crop which comes from natural fibers of cotton plants, for example. Kharif crop है, ये याद रखना है, number one चीज. दूसरा, native to tropical and subtropical regions. So it is in the tropical and subtropical regions that it is grown on the planet. Number two, top five cotton producing countries include China, India, USA, Brazil, and even Pakistan, our beloved friend. Further, cotton plants, they have a large growing period which can extend up to 200 days, almost two-thirds of an year, है ना? Which may start between December and March and end up throughout the year. 200 दिन लग जाते हैं. It is a very long growing season for any crop. But one thing is better, one thing is really good, and that is that cotton is not a thirsty crop. It does not take up a lot of water resources. It is basically a xerophyte and it can grow in dry, arid environments as well. And that is why American upland cotton, if you remember and if you have watched any of the older, old time based movies from Hollywood, I don't know if you have seen that movie called Django Unchained or 12 Years a Slave. This was a fun movie. This was not at all a fun movie. 12 Years a Slave. So these movies, they have depicted the cotton production industry in America and basically the American upland cotton, the way it is grown. Now, if you notice in most parts, it is not too humid, not too humid. It is not too rainy as far as the weather conditions are concerned. Once a year, twice a year, maybe rains happen in natural processes. So that is why cotton is not a thirsty crop. In fact, in areas where cotton is grown in India, you would realize the same thing. You would realize the same thing. What are the states? It is Gujarat, Maharashtra, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh. So these states are not too famous for their rainfall reception. है ना? So on those grounds, remember this. It is not a thirsty crop. Now, moving on to the next topic, and it is relating to coal sector of India. So coal industry and coal mining sector particularly is going to be discussed. There are a few reports that I have brought for you guys and also the entire detailed analysis of coal mining sector that happens in India. All right. So make sure to follow it to the end. Could you guys just give me 1 second? I have to check if I'm audible and visible. Just a second. And if I am, please let me know in the chat section. चलो, I think I am. Everything is fine. बीच में एक बार was just because of the trip that light took, you know. We were going through a roller coaster. Now, so India's coal mining sector. Recently, there was an analysis that was brought out by the Global Energy Monitor, GEM, which is basically a firm which tracks utility and utilization of fuel sources internationally. And on average, India's coal mines use only two-thirds of the capacity, with some large ones using only 1%. Only 1%. Now, coal in India, the mining sector itself is not sustainable. The processes that we use, they are not sustainable. Number one. Number two, they are not efficient. Number three, they are not effective. So we, through this topic, are going to realize the problems and nuances with respect to the coal sector from mining till production. Now, as far as coal in India is concerned, India is the second largest producer and consumer of coal after China, producer as well as consumer. Jharkhand is the largest coal producing state in India. Majority of the coal is coming from Jharkhand, which we would have thought that it would have been coming from the basaltic regions of Deccan Plateau, but it is actually the extension, and it is basically the Jharkhand Plateau that is producing majority of the coal for the country. Number one thing, the Global Energy Monitor is telling us that two-thirds of the capacity is being utilized, not much. हमारी कोल माइंस की कैपेसिटी तक भी हम कोल नहीं प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं एंड इन मेनी large mines we are only producing only 1%. So we still are the second largest producer. We have huge potential in the coal sector. We are the consumer, second largest consumer, second largest producer after China. But the problem with Indian coal is that it is more of peat and lignite, and it is lead of bituminous coal and anthracite coal. So we have very limited, very limited mines with respect to bituminous and anthracite coal. We will be discussing all of that, and also the time scale, geological time scale classification of coal mines. वो भी अभी हम समझेंगे. Number one. अच्छा. Top coal producing states after Jharkhand, you have Odisha, Chhattisgarh, West Bengal, Madhya Pradesh, Telangana, Maharashtra. These are major coal producing states. Coal accounts for around 55% of countries' total energy needs, 55%, and compared to other resources, and 67% of commercial requirements. So whenever it comes to commercial requirements, it's also about the private sector and various aspects of electricity generation, particularly for industries. So 67%. Let's understand different types of coal, various classifications, and the first classification is being done on the basis of the rock formations that the coal is a part of. Number one being the Gondwana coal, and secondly, you have the tertiary coal. Now, Gondwana coal basically belongs to 570 million years to 245 million years ago. So it is that Carboniferous period that it belongs to. The coal that is a part of Gondwana coal in India, it is a part of Damodar Valley, Mahanadi, Godavari, Narmada valleys. So basically river valley systems of South India particularly and Eastern India. Then you have Raniganj coal field, Jhadia, Bokaro, Ramgarh, Giridih. Then you have Chandrapur, Karanpura, Tatapani, Talcher, Himgiri, Korba, Panchghati, Sarguja, then Kamthi, Wardha Valley, Singareni in Andhra Pradesh, a major field, Singrauli as well. So these are major oil fields, or sorry, coal fields that exist from Gondwana period and in various part of the country. We will talk about every single mine in this particular segment. Make sure to follow this session throughout. Now, Jharguda coal mine in Chhattisgarh is the thickest coal seam of 132 meters. Coal seam is basically the thickness of the coal present in the mines. So 132 meters, it is the thickest single coal seam belonging to the Gondwana period. It is Jharguda coal mine, which is in Chhattisgarh. After that, you have the Kargali seam in Bokaro coal fields. Bokaro coal field ke paas, you have Kargali seam. Acha. 98% of the total coal reserves in India, they belong to the Gondwana period. This period, mainly bituminous or anthracite in carbon content, it varies from 60 to 90%. But we have very limited aspects of bituminous and anthracite coal. It is still in making, basically. Bituminous coal is converted into coke, and it is being used in iron and steel industry. Basically, a pinch of carbon that is added to iron to make it more malleable and ductile and less brittle in steel industry. That happens when you convert iron into steel. Impurities को remove किया जाता है, carbon as an additive is added and it is mixed and you get steel. Steel is being produced like this. Then you have the tertiary period coal. Now, tertiary period, of course, belongs to the tertiary era and the Oligocene period. Only 15 to 60 million years old. It is also known as the brown coal. Why do we call it brown coal? Because ये वो coal है जिसके अंदर आपको you can find twigs of plants. You can find, decaying leaves of various plant species. Sometimes, half fossilized species, half fossilized or semi fossilized plant species and subspecies can be found from this period. So, because it is not too old, only around 15 to 60 million years old. That means this tertiary era coal was created or was rather started to form when India had already collided with the Eurasian plate. So when Indian plate had already collided, because if you talk about this Gondwana coal, this is 570 to 245 million years old. It is older than the existence of India itself. Whereas if you talk about the tertiary period, it is after India came into being, and that is why it is brown coal. Now, many people think it to be quite, disheartening, the fact that we have majority of the coal as brown coal in India, or the quality of coal in India is not too good. Many people are complaining about that कि यार हमारे पास coal के reserves ऐसे है वो basically नाम करते हैं उसको. But the problem with that approach or the problem with that analysis is basically to the point that we are still utilizing this coal where the coal itself was being formulated. अगर आप थोड़ा और time रुकते, the quality of the coal could have been better. अच्छा, वो थोड़ा टाइम कुछ मिलियन ईयर्स था, उतना हम रुक नहीं सकते. So this tertiary period coal only accounts for about 2% of the total coal production in the country. It is an inferior type of coal, as I've told you, has around 30% of carbon varies from 30% in Gujarat and Rajasthan to 50% in Assam. So 30 to 50% के आसपास कोल का content, कोल में कार्बन का कंटेंट रहता है. लिग्नाइट कोल और पीट, पीट इज द लोएस्ट क्वालिटी. पीट में मैंने आपको बताया वो ब्राउन कोल की एक्यूरेट फॉर्म है, वेर यू विल फाइंड ट्विग्स, ब्रांचेस, लीव्स बीइंग डिकेड, अभी सामने होते हुए दिख रहे हो, राइट. सो लिग्नाइट कोल is found in Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Gujarat. If you notice, it is basically that zone where the Indian plate is also meeting the Eurasian plate. Gujarat, the Kutch region, Kerala, Jammu and Kashmir, Nagaland, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, not the entire, then West Bengal in the Darjeeling district particularly. Now, the largest lignite deposits of the country are in Neyveli region of Tamil Nadu. So, in Tamil Nadu, in Neyveli, you have the largest lignite deposits of the country. Different types of coal, that their characteristics, they have been given as follows. So let's understand peat, lignite, bituminous, anthracite coal. Different forms को, shapes को समझ लेते. अच्छा. If you are liking this session, then you should also like this session. Now, peat contains the highest percentage of moisture, gives more smoke, less than 40 to 50% of carbon is there. Lowest, most inferior quality represents the first stage of coal formation. Further, lignite coal, which is predominantly the brown coal. It is better than peat, but kitna better? 40 to 60% carbon hota hai, not much. Mainly, you have Neyveli, Tamil Nadu, Palna in Rajasthan, Lakhimpur, Assam, Jaintia Hills of Meghalaya, Nagaland, Kerala, Jammu and Kashmir, UP, Puducherry. These are the major areas where you will find lignite coal predominantly. Now, these deposits are estimated to be around 38930 million tons, out of which around 4150 million tons are only in Neyveli area of Tamil Nadu, as far as 2010 estimates are concerned. तो अभी और ज्यादा एस्टिमेशन हो गई होगी, बट स्टिल वी हैव अराउंड 40,000 million tons of lignite deposits present in India. Huge potential, but again, it has been converted from peat. So, under increasing pressure and heat with the passage of time, peat is being converted into lignite. तो बहुत ज्यादा वेरिएशन नहीं आता है. इट इज नॉट वेरी गुड, बट इट इज मच बेटर देन पीट. अच्छा, एरियाज असम, गुजरात, जम्मू एंड कश्मीर, केरला, मेघालय, नागालैंड, राजस्थान, फॉर एग्जाम्पल, दीज आर दी एरियाज. Coming to the black coal or the bituminous coal. Bituminous as a term is a phrase used for the color black itself. Now, when coal is being buried very deep, moisture जो है वो pressure की वजह से expunge हो जाता है. And because of that, the moisture gets removed. It is much drier form. The seam of coal, seam is basically the line of coal that is available underneath in within any mine, and it is subjected to increased temperatures and pressures as well, which makes lignite get converted into bituminous or creates a bituminous coal resource itself. Dense होता है, compact होता है, black in color होता है rather than brown when it comes to lignite. Traces of original vegetation from which it has been formed, they can also be found. Only 60 to 80% of carbon is present. In anthracite, you will have maximum carbon. Most popular form of coal, and this is the coal that we tend to use in commercial usage, because anthracite as such is very costly. It will increase the cost of energy production and also transmission. So for that reason, हम anthracite coal को कम use करते हैं. Bituminous coal, the second in line, is more used. The name is derived from the liquid called bitumen, which is basically released after heating this coal. थोड़ा सा एक liquid material निकलता है, which is bitumen, which is also used in various aspects of building, construction, road activities, etc. Now, bitumen or bituminous coal is used in making coke, not coke as in that refreshing drink, but coke as in coke is basically a cake of carbon, cake of carbon. That is why coke. So cake of carbon that is having more quantity of carbon. So आप bituminous coal को ही जब refine करते हैं उसमें ज्यादा carbon content आ जाता है, तब उसको coking coal के तौर पर utilize किया जाता है. This coking coal is utilized in petroleum industry, it is used in metallurgy industry and various other industries as a source of carbon. When you want to add carbon into any reaction, when we were pursuing engineering, when we were pursuing non-medical, we used to write reaction like this. And we were specifically told that you should not do this in your board examinations. So we made sure that we started practicing writing reaction like this. So for you guys as well, if you know the full forms of any organizations, then you should use the full forms of those organizations rather than the acronyms. Unlike in the case of Niti Aayog, then you can use Niti word itself. उसकी full form नहीं जरूरी. नीति आयोग खुद से लिख सकते हैं. अच्छा, coking coal is basically utilized in the entire production industry and metallurgy industry, petroleum industry, gas coal, steam coal. All of this is being created from bituminous coal. Coking coal is a result from heating of coal in the absence of oxygen, which basically burns off all the volatile gases, and all you are left out with is carbon. It is used in iron and steel industry. Now, bituminous coal is present in Jharkhand, Odisha, Chhattisgarh, West Bengal, Madhya Pradesh, and various other parts of this country. ये चीजें आपको बेसिकली प्रिडोमिनेंटली याद रखनी चाहिए. अच्छा, one more thing that you should remember is the fact that you guys have access to 25% discount from all UPSC CSE subscriptions that are being offered on Unacademy platform by Sriram IAS. Make sure that you remember this referral code, that is SRI RAMS, because if you use this referral code, then you get that 25% discount on all UPSC CSE subscriptions. Further, important piece of information to all of you guys, the fact that we are running optional courses. You already have live and running optional courses for public administration, sociology, and various other economics, history optional, and various other subjects. Now you also have geography optional, which was basically being asked by many people. So Priyesh Singh sir, he has 11 years of UPSC experience, and he's bringing for you guys geography optional. Further, you also are being offered foundation course, which has been started. Only 2 years, 2 days have gone by. So this comprehensive course, which is basically the foundation course, is a part of the mission 2024 that we are running. And mission 2024, 1 year mission that we want you guys to give to Sriram IAS, so that Shubh Sriram IAS is basically the institution from Delhi. It is a Delhi-based top-level institution that is present in the country. It has been serving the aspirations of UPSC aspirants for about 4 decades now. तो इतने सालों से हम हर साल श्री राम आईएएस में बहुत सारे सिलेक्शंस देख रहे हैं. तो आपको एक बार तो इस इंस्टीट्यूशन इस इंस्टीट्यूशन के द्वारा दिए गए सारे कोर्सेज को चेक कर लेना चाहिए. आपके बेनिफिट के लिए है, आपके लिए ही. ऑलराइट, नाउ so foundation batch, this has been designed particularly for prelims, mains, and interviews. The entire syllabus and the entire aspect of UPSC preparation is to be covered through this foundation batch. Also, you are being offered anthropology optional as well. So anthropology optional is also being covered at Sriram's IS. The classes have started on. Make sure that you follow all the mentors and teachers on Unacademy platform so that you get access to various information. तो ये सारे courses आपको available हैं Unacademy platform के ऊपर. So आप online है, online and offline both. So it is both online as well as offline. Now, for offline, you will have to visit the Sri Ram's IS institution, but for online, we are offering courses on Unacademy platform. तो आप Unacademy पे अपना अकाउंट बनाएंगे, वहां पर मेरा नाम जैसे सनदत्त भारद्वाज है. यू कैन फाइंड मी ऑन Unacademy यूपीएससी सीएसई सेगमेंट के अंदर. फॉलो मी, फॉलो श्रीराम सर, फॉलो थिरुमुरुगन सर, कविता मैम, follow all the mentors and teachers, and you will have access to all the classes. There are multiple classes that are happening, particularly जो special classes की category में है, they are available for free to all of you guys. There are also comprehensive courses that are available. Discount उसमें आज मैंने आपको बता दिया, you can get 25% discount if you avail that. All right, चलो. Now let's get back to the topic. If you have any doubts, you can post it in the comment section. Me and the entire team will be able to help you out. Now, so we were talking about anthracite coal. Anthracite coal को हम hard coal भी लिख देते हैं. Anthracite coal has the highest quantity of quality. It is highest quality and highest quantity of carbon. Highest quality of coal having 80 to 90% of carbon. Rest 10% to 20% impurities होती हैं. They have to be removed. It has very little volatile matter, insignificant proportion of moisture, almost no moisture. And if you burn this coal, अगर आप बाकी coals को burn करेंगे, be it bituminous coal, lignite coal, peat coal, you will get more and more and more smoke. Why? Because there are unconverted carbon soot particles or more of your volatile compounds, also more of impurities. जब उन्हें burn करते हैं तो you get darker flames, you get reddish, orangish, yellowish flames. But when you burn anthracite coal, because it is such pure carbon that it gives you a short blue flame. In fact, coal fires are a recent phenomena. Very recently, you might have read it in the news. Newspapers में आपने ये देखा भी होगा. एक जगह पर कोल स्टॉक पड़ा था और वो जल गया खुद से. It was nobody who basically, it's not like somebody lit a cigarette and they throw it in the coal storage area, because coal is not stored as such. Cold storage is done well within secured limits. वो security के साथ होता है. Generally, security of various mines and various industries, Indian government PSU industries, it is done by CISA, Central Industrial Security Forces. Majority of airports में भी आपको CISF की security मिलती है. Now, CISF is ensured with this particular aspect of security of coal. Now, this coal fire that had broke out in the stock that we had stored, there is one reason associated to it, and it is quite scientific and it is quite relevant for us to understand. When you are to transport coal from coal mines to the industry, you know how it is done? There are two things that happen. Number one, when you are picking up coal and you are placing it on the backs of all those storage containers and all those, basically the trucks, उनकी पीछे आप डालते हैं कोयले को. Many a times, many small kids, छोटे बच्चे बहुत inquisitive होते हैं, ये सवाल पूछते हैं. मुझसे सवाल पूछा है, I'm just repeating that question. Why is it that you do not transport the coal in closed containers? Number one. Number two, when coal is to be burnt, कोयले को जलाना ही है, so why is it that industry generally, the mining industry, sprays water on it? Water is sprayed on the transported coal. Why? Now, there are two reasons associated to it and one consequence that is to be avoided. Number one reason. The first reason is that when you're transporting coal, there are huge losses because of the coal getting, eroded because of attrition. कोयले के pieces है. For example, when you pick up a, 1 unit piece of chapati, there is some atta, that wheat flour that is, still lying on that chapati, and it gets all shredded away. It all gets, वो धीरे धीरे करके झड़ता है उस, and that is something that happens with coal as well. So coal basically gets disintegrated or gets lost. There is huge losses because of the powdering form of coal. So coal gets converted into powder. It becomes a part of the wind that is blowing, and erosion happens, and it gets, away from the place of production. It is huge loss, huge loss. To avoid that and to avoid air pollution, to avoid carbon getting ended up into machineries because of this air that is being blown and the coal content in that air, water is sprayed. Every now and then, water is sprayed. Number two reason, the second reason why you spray water is to make sure that the temperatures of the carbon stock or the coal stock does not rise. Because around approximately 60 degrees Celsius, coal starts to get burnt. It starts burning. I am talking about, because this is my own personal experiences coming from an engineering background. We are taught all this stuff in our college times. So 60 degrees Celsius. Now you would think, sir, the entire country maximum temperature reaches 50 degrees Celsius. How can you say that 60 degrees Celsius? Because where you are pursuing production activities, when you have industries working day in, day out, temperatures are different from the outside world. Temperatures are generally 4 to 5 degrees Celsius higher than what it is in the rest of the country. तो जहां जहां पर आपकी इंडस्ट्री होती है वहां पर इंटरनली टेम्परेचर्स राइज कर जाते हैं. सेकेंड रीजन ऑफ दिस टेम्परेचर राइज happens because of the pressure of the coal. Because of pressure and temperature, moisture gets expunged, वो expel हो जाता है, and temperature keeps on rising. And because coal is not just any piece of glass material, it's not glass, it is not like bottle, it is not like concrete. It can store heat energy and it keeps rising. The temperature of coal keeps rising, and when it crosses 60 degrees Celsius, it starts to burn on its own. If it reaches 60 degrees Celsius or it keeps on increasing even above 60 degrees Celsius, it starts to burn. One of the recent examples where a lot of loss to the exchequer happened was in the recent coal fire that happened in the stocks that were kept. They were kept to be transported, but वहां पर आग लग गई. It was a major problem. It took a lot of effort to cool it down because when you are adding water to that coal, then you have to remove major moisture content afterwards. You cannot just utilize, you cannot use fire extinguishers when coal is burning. This is something that you would also look at. Say, for example, when we are residing in Delhi, there are major landfill sites and there are major dumping sites that are quite famous. In fact, वो world famous हो गई. Delhi के major areas में entry points में you will find these big mountains of waste material. वहां पर कोई आग लगाता नहीं है. जनरली अगर आप देखें तो वहां से स्मोक निकल रहा होता है. तो वो कोई आग जबरदस्ती नहीं लगा रहा होता है. It is basically because of the pressure and because of incorporated heat that it starts to get burnt. ये वो reason हो. Now, coming back to anthracite coal, most expensive, so that is why we don't use it. Now, I have made sure that through these notes, I have made sure to incorporate all aspects of coal fields. For example, I have incorporated state-wise distribution. I have incorporated the peat lignite bituminous anthracite classification based distribution of coal as well. Now, you can go through this. I'm just going to pick up on the facts and figures that you can utilize in your mains answers. Now, economics से related हो या चाहे आपका किसी sector of economy से related हो, the kind of question if it is associated with coal and even if it comes in GS1 component, then you should be able to utilize the fact that Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, these three states have huge quantities of natural resources and still they are lagging behind in economic growth prospects. There might be something lacking when it comes to green accounting. Try interlinking all these things and you would realize that you are doing much better as compared to other students, other aspirants. You will score much better in your mains examination. Try interlinking multiple things and you'll see the results. Now, distribution of coal fields in India, number one, Jharkhand accounts for 29%, has first rank when it comes to coal reserves and its production. Most of the coal belongs to the Gondwana period, older period. Main coal mining centers are Auranga, Bokaro, Daltonganj, Dhanbad, Giridih, Bhutar, Dharia, Karanpur, Ramgarh. I might be pronouncing some names wrongly. These are local names. I don't want to be held responsible for that. I'm really sorry about that. Now, as far as Jharia is concerned, it is the largest, most important coal producing mine in this country. Around 460 square kilometers के area पे spanned है. Most of the bituminous coal is coming from Jharia coal field. Now, nearly 90% of the coking coal is being produced from Jharia mine coal itself. So, the coal that is coming from Jharia mines, that is being utilized to produce coking coal and it has bituminous coal. The coal is mainly being supplied to iron and steel plants in Asansol, Bokaro, Durgapur, Jamshedpur, in the region basically. तो झारखंड से वेस्ट बंगाल, ओडिशा इन सब regions में जा रहा है. Bokaro coal field stretches in the valley of Bokaro River, Hazirabad district, in supply to Bokaro iron and steel plant. Then you have Giridih or Karharbari coal field, which is basically extended version of Hazaribagh. It stretches in the Hazaribagh district itself. Further, it is supplying Bokaro and Jamshedpur steel plants with the coal. Then you have Karanpur, Ramgarh, Bhutar, Daltonganj. All these are coal fields from, and of course, Devgarh as well. They are from Jharkhand. Then you come to Odisha. Jharkhand 29%, second in rank 24%, Odisha total coal reserves का 24% यहाँ से आ रहा है. Produces around 15% of total coal production in the country. Odisha state has more than 24% of the total coal reserves. Now, in Odisha, most of the coal deposits are found in Dhenkanal and Sambalpur and also Sundargarh district. The major one is basically the Talcher coal field, जिसमें धानकिनाल and Sambalpur districts दोनों आ जाते हैं. Around 500 square kilometers के broad area में ये coal field present है. Second largest coal reserves in the country in the Talcher after Raniganj. Raniganj के बाद Talcher आ जाता है. Then further, mainly supplies to thermal power plants and fertilizer plants that are existent in Talcher. Then you have Chhattisgarh and Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, because Chhattisgarh is basically a state carved out of Madhya Pradesh. That is why they are being considered together, because natural resources don't know the federal boundaries of your political democracy. Chhattisgarh is the third largest coal reserve in the country. Around 17% of all of India coal is present in Chhattisgarh, after Jharkhand and further after Odisha. It holds the first rank in production. This is where everything changes. First rank in production, Chhattisgarh, whereas first rank in resources and in reserves, Jharkhand. Chhattisgarh has Singrauli, Korba, Pench, Kanha, Tawa coalfield and Umaria coalfield. So these are the coalfields that are present in Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh region. Coming to West Bengal, 11% of total coal production, or rather coal reserves, not production, they are from West Bengal. West Bengal lie coal field deposit. They lie in Bankura, Bardhaman, Birbhum, Darjeeling, Jalpaiguri, Purulia, all these districts. Just generally you find lignite coal. क्यों? क्योंकि यहाँ पर tertiary period का coal मिलता है after the collision of Indian plate and Eurasian plate, and that is why it is lignite in origin. Particularly, it is found in the Burza Hills of Jalpaiguri and Darjeeling district. Then scattered deposits हैं, and they have also been found in Puducherry, for example. Most important coal reserves of West Bengal is Raniganj. So Raniganj, after Raniganj, you have Talcher. It is this Raniganj that has the maximum production. Now, 185 square kilometers, Bardhaman, Birbhum districts are covered. Most important coal field of West Bengal, 55 to 50 to 65% of carbon. Why? Because lignite coal है, good quality of coking coal आ जाता है यहाँ से, हम निकालते ज्यादा यहाँ से हैं. Then you have Darjeeling coal field, powder form ज्यादा मिलता है यहाँ पर, because it is not in the cake form. Powder form with coking quality is available. Then Madhya Pradesh around 8% of reserves, Andhra Pradesh 7%, generally around Godavari Valley. Singareni coal field is the prominent coal field of this region. Then another important coal producing center is Kottagudam, which is again Andhra Pradesh ka hi hai. Coal seam is around 18 meters thick. Coal is of good quality, not the best. महाराष्ट्र, देखो अपनी चीज की कोई बुराई नहीं करता है, दैट इज व्हाई वी आर सेइंग दैट इट इज गुड क्वालिटी, नॉट द बेस्ट बट गुड क्वालिटी, बट स्टिल जनरली लिग्नाइट और बिटुमिनस कोल इज फाउंड, नॉट एंथ्रासाइट. Maharashtra में you have Wardha Valley stretching over Nagpur, which is Kampte coalfield and Yavatmal districts. So in these regions you will find coal deposits, and it is utilized by railways, thermal power stations at Trombe, Chola, Haparkeda, Paras, Balarsha, Nashik, Koradi coalfields, all these areas, which is basically belonging to the tertiary period. What you should know as an aspirant is the time zone or the time period from which the coal reserves are being made available to India, and in what regions, what kind of, is it Gondwana period coal or is it tertiary coal? So based on that, you should have a basic idea कि कहाँ पे कौन सा available है. मैंने आपको सारी information through this class provide की है. Then you come to Tamil Nadu, largest deposits of lignite at Neyveli, which is the South Arcot district of Tamil Nadu. Then Rajasthan, lignite deposits are found, particularly in Bikaner, Palna, and Khadi mines, which are a part of the Bikaner districts. Then further, inferior quality coal is available in Rajasthan, not the best quality is present. In Gujarat, in Bharuch and Kutch districts, poor quality, 35% carbon and more moisture is there. Further, Jammu and Kashmir, Raitan, Chaliganga region ka Raitan area, Handwara, Baramulla, Riasi, Udhampur districts, and also the Karevas of Badgam and Srinagar. Kareva soil. I hope you know what Kareva soil is. right? It is a darker colored soil, and it is this soil where you get the best quality of saffron or zafran from this region. Then further, West Bengal. वेस्ट बंगाल लिग्नाइट डिपॉजिट्स हैं, टर्शरी पीरियड से मिलते हैं बुर्जा हिल्स के आसपास, जलपाईगुड़ी के अंदर, है ना? स्कैटर्ड लिग्नाइट है, and it has also been seen to be found in Puducherry. But what are the problems of the coal industry in India? Number one, we do not have equal distribution of coal in the entire country. It's not like the entire country has coal deposits, or it's not like that coal deposits in the country. Just a second. Yeah. So we do not have equal distribution of coal, and that is why we have to transport coal from one place to another, and that is where one, transmission and distribution losses happen. Number two, there are major challenges with respect to transportation itself. So what are the benefits that happen at the site of mining, and what are the economic benefits that happen at the ends where the coal ends up being at? The industries, the basically the refining industry, coal refining industry, and also the industry where it is being utilized. तो वहां पर economic benefits ज्यादा आ रहे हैं. Less efficient transport system, as I've told you, poor quality of coal is present in India predominantly. Obsolete methods of mining are being utilized. The international best practices are not yet been incorporated. In many places, you will also find rat hole mining, particularly in the northeastern region. Even when rat hole mining is something that has been reprimanded against by the Honorable Supreme Court as well. Shortage of power supply, which stops, and it is a more of a, because power supply is intermittent, it converts the seamless production of carbon into more seasonal aspects. अच्छा, फायर्स, वाटर लॉगिंग प्रॉब्लम्स, ये सब चीजें जो है, पानी भर जाता है माइन के अंदर, उस पानी को जब तक नहीं निकाला जाएगा तब तक माइनिंग कंटिन्यू नहीं हो सकती. फायर्स हो जाते हैं. वन एग्जांपल दैट आई हैव शेयर्ड ओनली रिसेंटली. चलो, moving to the next topic, and that is food innovation hubs. Now, World Economic Forum, WEF, it has brought together a network of food innovation hubs. What are these hubs? What are their significance, and how it can be an important topic for us in mains examination? Let's understand that. पानी पी लें थोड़ा. Now, make sure, guys, that you follow the entire lot of sessions and all the initiatives that Sriram IAS is bringing to you guys on Unacademy platform. आपकी तैयारी में एक holistic approach डालने के लिए every single mentor, every single teacher is making sure that they are putting in efforts to add value to your preparation journey, to this journey that you have embarked on. One thing is this mission means 2023, and that is where we are having Saturdays and Sundays at 10 a.m. classes for 2.5 long hours. Live classes hai ye, live sessions. You can ask anything with respect to your preparation and with respect to the topic through these live sessions. You have me and Anshum sir. Tomorrow you will have a class by Anshum sir, and today you have my class. Make sure that you follow all these sessions. They have been happening. This is the third week. This is the third week. Already two classes have happened. दो classes already हो चुकी हैं. Rather, two sets of classes have happened. So this is the fifth class. Remember this. Also, make sure that you have access to Unacademy platform. Go to the Unacademy website, create your profile, and once you have created your profile as a student, make sure to add UPSC CSE and UPSC optional as your goals, because when you do that, you will get an access to all these sessions that we at Sriram's IAS are bringing for you guys. It will be then that you will be able to find out all the teachers. Remember the names of the teachers, find them on the Unacademy platform, follow them so that you get better access. These are not just the classes that are happening on YouTube. There are many sessions that, because you are not yet a part of Unacademy platform, you don't get access to. तो उसको एक्सेस करने के लिए आपको अनअकैडमी की वेबसाइट पर जाकर अपनी प्रोफाइल बनानी पड़ेगी. क्रिएट योर प्रोफाइल, follow the mentors in the UPSC CSE category, UPSC optional category, all the mentors from Sriram's IS. Sriram sir, me, Anshum sir, every teacher is present on Unacademy platform. They are giving out so many wonderful sessions that can add huge value in your journey, in your preparation journey for civil services examination. Do not skip on any of these sessions. All right. I have shown you how it is to be done. अगर आप already नहीं हैं Unacademy platform पे, तो इस तरीके से you can be a part of all the initiatives. Now, coming to food innovation hubs. World Economic Forum has talked about these food innovation hubs. It is basically a multi-stakeholder approach, a pre-competitive market-based partnership platform. What would it do? These platforms, they will leverage the role of technology, broader innovation in the support of transformation agenda, particularly in food industry. Now, it will help you be more inclusive, efficient, sustainable, nutritious, and healthy, creating such food systems for various countries. What are these food innovation hubs and how are they being created? What is the process? Let's understand that as well. Food innovation hubs are being partnered, being founded by partners from various governments, private sectors, innovators, entrepreneurs, farmer organizations, civil society, international organizations, and various other organizations. The problem with this particular aspect is that we tend to undermine the relevance of all the stakeholders, and that is why it is a multi-stakeholder approach. जब आप आंसर राइटिंग कर रहे हो, when you're writing down answers, make sure that you incorporate different aspects of influence that food innovation hub or any such initiative has on these multiple stakeholders, or all these multiple stakeholders having an impact on all these kinds of initiatives. So the hubs, the FIHs, they are designed locally to address the needs of local food systems. It is not just the industry, it is also the food system, the local food system that they are trying to enhance. What are they trying to do? They are trying to foster and cultivate food systems innovation. So incorporating innovativeness into the food systems. Number one. Number two, support delivery and adoption of innovation at scale, at larger scale. Ensure that you develop a community of practices to share learnings and build capacity in various parts of the world. To promote innovation so that you have sustainable food systems. They can be a direct question, can be utilized in essays, GS1, even GS2, where food security is a topic with respect to public policy, and of course, GS3 as well. How would you promote innovation? Now, the first hub that has been set up is set up in Madhya Pradesh under the collaboration agreement between World Economic Forum and the MP government. Now, the hub is basically based on agricultural development. It will promote innovations in alignment with the tenets of Atmanirbhar Bharat. A food innovation hub in India is aspiring to enable a mechanism so that you can strengthen local innovation ecosystems and address the needs across the food value chains. फ्रंट एंड से बैक एंड से हर तरीके से आपके फूड इकोसिस्टम के अंदर जो लोकल इनोवेशन इकोसिस्टम है उसे इनकॉर्पोरेट किया जा सके सो दैट फूड वैल्यू चेन्स आर मच मोर एफिशिएंट by using technology, by using innovation. Now, this is the next level or next version of traditional extension activities. How many of you guys, tell me in the chat section, how many of you guys actually know what is extension services or extension activities? If you know what extension activities are, or if you don't, please let me know in the chat section. Now, extension services basically or extension activities are somewhat a support system. एक support system रहता है जिसके अंदर एग्रीकल्चर, एलाइड एक्टिविटीज एंड रूरल लाइवलीहुड्स को बेटर करने के लिए या उनको प्रमोट करने के लिए कुछ कुछ एक्टिविटीज टेकअप किए जाते हैं. This in a more formalized manner started off in 1904 through the land grant universities of United States. These land grant universities are basically those universities which were set up after granting them a piece of land. So it was considered their responsibility that they take care of the land around them. And that is why these universities started tying up with the farmers and local communities, youth of that region, local communities of that region to ensure their livelihood, to ensure a more sustainable agriculture practice, and ensuring enhanced innovation and research work in the field of agriculture. So, how do you set up these FIHs, these basically food innovation hubs? These food innovation hubs, how would you be operating them if they are to be considered as a next level, a next version of extension services? Number one, any hub that is to be set up, it is to be set up close cooperation of local governments, private sector, so that it meets their goals. There is no direct funding that is coming from no direct funding that is coming from World Economic Forum. So basically, it is crowdfunding or various other aspects. Acha, just a second. Yeah. The hub enables public-private partnerships as well, so that you can incorporate agrotech companies, you can link companies with the government agencies such as Krishi Vikas Kendras, Vigyan Kendras, for example. Then innovation hubs can also depend on one another for knowledge exchange. It can also create a global coordinating secretariat, and that has been created by the World Economic Forum in Holland. Now, it ensures that every hub is functioning as per global objectives, and basically it is a cluster, it is like a hub and spokes model that is being followed in this particular initiative. What is a hub and spokes model? This is a hub and spokes model. I hope you get the idea. So there will be a nodal agency which will be coordinating amongst various regional agencies. So these food innovation hubs can act as regional agencies, and then you have the global coordinating secretariat at and Holland. Now, to ensure that all the global objectives are being taken care of. Now, proof of concept here is really essential. What is this proof of concept? Let's understand that as well. Any food innovation hub that is to proceed, they will proceed only after the firms that are involved, they create a proof of concept with the government. Madhya Pradesh was chosen for initiating this work. Why? Because it was open to exploring opportunities transparently and more collaboratively. And that is why Madhya Pradesh was the first state to come up with Food Innovation Hub. Various agrotech firms, they have been a part of the project which is providing a variety of cutting edge solutions in respect to food systems, pledging finance through financial technology companies, further using spectrometers to perform quality assessment and assaying. So quality assessment is being used through various processes. इसको भी टेक्नोलॉजाइज किया जा रहा है. फाइनेंसिंग भी फाइनेंशियल टेक्नोलॉजी से हो रही है, यूजिंग रिमोट सेंसिंग टेक्नोलॉजीज टू प्रोवाइड एडवाइजरीज with respect to food systems basically agriculture sector से associated. Further, making sure that efficient crop insurance patterns are being followed. Crop insurance patterns and crop insurance in agriculture sector is one aspect that is the most neglected part, or rather the most inefficient part when it comes to agriculture policies. We have to make sure that this is taken up so that you reduce the occurrences of loss due to crop failures. Besides that, agrotech firms, not for profit companies, they are also involved. So they reach or enhance the reach and credibility of these digital innovations to the last mile. What are the key focus areas? Number one, digital agriculture, new age technologies के basis पर, innovation in regenerative farming, not degenerative farming, which is more sustainable farming. New age agroecological solutions, they have to happen. So it will look at several modern and traditional models to address climate resilience basically, so that climate resilience in agriculture is enhanced. It looks up at upcoming innovations in carbon offsetting processes, carbon sink processes, where implementation is the critical part when you are providing financial incentives, particularly to the farmers when it comes to food hubs or food systems, so that they are able to grow more sustainably. So एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर के अंदर क्लाइमेट रिजिलियंस को टेक्नोलॉजी और डिजिटल एरा के इनकर्जन की वजह से बेटर करना, फूड सिस्टम के अंदर एफिशिएंसी, इफेक्टिवनेस एंड सस्टेनेबिलिटी को इंप्रूव करना इज समथिंग दैट वी आर बीइंग फोकसिंग ऑन. Then further you can leverage carbon credits since there is no direct funding, no direct funding coming up from World Economic Forum. वहां से सिर्फ मीठी मीठी बातें आ रही हैं, पैसे नहीं आ रहे. तो फॉर दैट रीजन you will have to follow carbon credit system. Now carbon credit market can be leveraged. It has become big globally and India also can benefit from it. Existing firms, new ones who are running business operations that aim to benefit and protect the ecosystem services for farmers, they can leverage carbon credits, and based on those carbon credits, they can leverage international funding. Other new age innovations that are happening include usage of targeted soil and crop management system using drone technology. तो ड्रोन टेक्नोलॉजी को यूज करके आप सॉइल मैपिंग कर रहे हैं, आप न्यूट्रिएंट मैपिंग भी कर रहे हैं. ऑल दीज थिंग्स आर हैपनिंग. Now, spraying of biochemicals on fresh produce that may enhance shelf life as well and arrest food loss, that is also being done using drone technology. Conducive to environment hai, supports nutrition and health programs in long term. So it is more sustainable and food systems will ensure food security for the future period as well. Further, what should be done is these food innovation hubs, they can be used through the process of financing, making sure that unconventional sources like philanthropic funds can be utilized for enhancing their participation. So these funds are looking to unlock PPP mode by providing initial funding, achieving proof of concepts. Proof of concepts is basically where you start implementing things on the first stage. That is the proof of concept. This is one thing that is utilizable, particularly when it comes to any kind of industry, infrastructure के अंदर, investment के अंदर, कहीं पर भी जब पैसा लग रहा है, वहां पर आपको ये चीज देखने को मिलेगी. Alright? चलो. Philanthropic partners, they are integral part of initiating and accelerating ecosystem transformation, where you can use philanthropic partners as well, not just leverage say carbon credits, not just leverage say initial funding through various unconventional sources, particularly philanthropic partners. They can act as huge sources of money and resources, financial resources. Also, just a second. All those individuals who have not yet liked the session, make sure that you have by now. अभी तक देख रहे हैं तो सेशन को लाइक जरूर कर देना. अच्छा, growing set of global players, they are coming and becoming a part of this initiative from both private sector, public sector. They are driving, and support is coming. It is a very exciting initiative. India's food innovation hub अभी तो सिर्फ एक हुआ है. We are trying to enhance it to various other parts of the country as well. We are building a solid ground for targeted approach, and this will be a game changer for leveraging agriculture sector when it comes to sustainability. Further, its successful implementation will help us get more opportunities which can be carried on into other states like Odisha, Bihar, Meghalaya, and such other areas. Now, moving on to India's new foreign trade policy. We have come up with a new foreign trade policy, but its launch is getting deferred day by that we see that this new foreign trade policy is not being implemented. The Commerce Ministry has further deferred its launch. Why? Because it thinks that it needs more consultation with the industry. So the current foreign trade policy that is being run, that has been extended time and again up till March 2023 and then further. The current foreign trade policy from 2015 till 2020 is basically a policy document that basically tells you what are the objectives and strategies that we will be using to boost export segment in the country. The new foreign trade policy, which is basically based on the current foreign trade policy, which was introduced 2015 for a 5-year term, which has now ended, extend hui thi because of COVID pandemic, and has been extended till 2022-2023 financial year. Now, the new policy will have more comprehensive, important, which will of course have important aspects attributed to the rules, regulations, procedures in international trade. I will be talking about multiple schemes with respect to the export segment. Make sure to follow this through. याद से ध्यान से इसको follow कीजिए. This will probably be the last topic that we are covering. Probably, right? Yes. Now, so the new policy has to be comprehensive and it has to take care about all the rules and regulations that were earlier on creating problems with respect to promotion of exports, along with making sure that all the aspects that World Trade Organization has asked us to work on with respect to export regimes, laws, and regulations that has to be catered to as well. Now, India's strategy is to cash in on the world seeking to become less dependent on China. So, Chinese dependency should convert itself into Indian dependency. अगर वो हो जाता है तो इंडिया के लिए चांदी ही चांदी है. So this will help exporters as well as importers to plan their investments ahead if we create a better framework for them based on certain rules and regulations. So the new policy will aim to provide a leg up to exports, address key concerns of the industry, include a buffer against rising interest rates as well. Further, it will also have to make sure that easy access of funds and easy transmission of goods and services happens at the ends or at the boundaries. Now, it includes measures to help push up goods and services exports as well as reel in the runaway import bill, so that reducing the import bill, enhancing the exports of goods and services that should happen. So there is a need for a new policy. Global growth is slowing down. Recession fears after Ukraine-Russia war has enhanced, and the problems for India, economic problems for India, they are not going away anytime soon. So we have to come up with a major shift in the economic policy, particularly with respect to foreign trade. Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, which has led to assertions that the government has no bandwidth left for new foreign trade pact negotiations. When I say bandwidth, what does it mean? What does this statement mean? Listen very carefully. Huh? So there are many restrictions and implications that get strongly that have strong influence on how India creates its rules and regulations with respect to foreign policy. हम export oriented regime होना चाह रहे हैं. We are wanting to have free trade agreements with various other nations and you know various other associations. We had our negotiations ending up in a negative note with SARC with respect to RCEP, Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. We ended up backing out of RCEP for various reasons, right? Similarly, European Union, similarly, African Union, similarly, you have various other countries, country-specific free trade pacts, which of course are a part of World Trade Organization regime itself. The latest rounds, the Doha round, for example, and even the Bali package, it is incorporated in that. But if you have a foreign policy or an economic framework that is being asserted upon you that does not allow you to have any space of negotiations when you are going for newer free trade pacts or free trade agreements with other countries or other areas. तो ये जो इंडो पैसिफिक इकोनॉमिक फ्रेमवर्क है, this framework is not allowing any room for negotiation. It is not giving you any space कि सर चलो हम for example, if I were to talk about duties, countervailing duties, etc., etc., let's keep it in this range. So this negotiating bandwidth that you have, it is getting reduced. That is the meaning of this term or this statement. The Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. What is this Indo-Pacific Economic Framework? How is it impacting? Let's understand that. The new trade policy has to enhance trade facilitation measures so that it increases this bandwidth. Simpler duty exemption scheme should be there. Reintroduce the service export promotion scheme, which was ended. All right. So this has to start again. Increase India's share in global export in services, increase employment opportunities in this sector, boost domestic manufacturing, economic clout across the globe. You have to rope in India's economic clout. You have to make sure that Indians sitting abroad, they have a positive impact on India's export regime. Leverage India's potential in the services sector particularly. So if you look at this policy, you would realize that there is a greater impetus that is being sought after in the service sector. Then you have the remission of duties and taxes on export products. This scheme and the issues associated with this scheme. I told you I've brought multiple schemes with respect to export sector. Make sure to watch this session through and through. Now, remission of duties and taxes on export products. This scheme aims at neutralizing all the taxes at state and local levels, not otherwise, just at state and local levels, not otherwise refunded under any other mechanism. तो इनको रिफंड नहीं मिलता है तो उस केस में अगर एक्सपोर्टर को इफ दे आर एक्सपोर्टिंग एनी प्रोडक्ट they have to be remitted of any of the duties and taxes, then they are refunded through this scheme. It is a refund of duties that are embedded in the manufacturing of products for exports only. Now if you may or may not be the producer, what is happening is there is one producer. He is giving products to the exporter. Exporter is exporting the products. Now, when the exporter is taking products from the producer has already paid the duties and taxes at state level, at local levels. So, through this scheme, the exporter is being, the exporter is being, forced to pay the entire money or including the duties and taxes on this product, which is entirely being exported. तो इसके अंदर ड्यूटीज और टैक्सेस को आपको रिमिट कर दिया जाता है, आपको रिफंड कर दिया जाता है, एंड इट इज रिफंडेड टू द एक्सपोर्टर. सो द बेनिफिट गोज टू द एक्सपोर्टर बेसिकली. These taxes and duties, they are also applicable on excluded sectors and therefore need to be refunded to all sectors. तो अभी सिर्फ there are external sectors or the sectors where exports are happening, and there are sectors which are excluded. So the refund scheme should be extended to all the sectors. That is something that is being said. Further, this does not include cess and levies. All the cess and levies that happen, which is basically tax on tax. Duty is a basically a form of tax itself. is not tax on tax. It is a tax itself. And all the taxes, they are again tax themselves. बट टैक्स के ऊपर 1%, 2%, 1% के आसपास जब आप सेस लगाते हैं, लेवी लगाते हैं या सरचार्ज लगाते हैं, ऑल दीज थिंग्स दे आर नॉट इंक्लूडेड. And this has emerged as a potent instrument in the recent years where collection of funds for designated purposes is not happening. So this has to be considered and taken care of. Not only that, the remission scheme benefits, they are confined to limited sectors. तो इसका एक इक्विटेबल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन होना चाहिए, particularly in sectors like pharmaceutical, steel, chemicals, they are out of its purview. And that is why under the current policy, the remission benefits they are not available to advance authorization holders or EOUs. These individuals, they need to get these benefits as well. Further, before we go on and talk about anything else, let's talk about this EPCG, Export Promotion Capital Goods Scheme. Just a second. Export Promotion Capital Goods Scheme is basically a scheme that allows an exporter to import of capital goods. So any exporter who is importing capital goods, for example, spare parts really required for pre-production, production, post-production aspects at zero custom duty for exports. So that because you need certain support, आप अगर कोई भी चीज प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं, you would require something in the manufacturing facility. You might need some capital goods, you might need machines. Those machines are basically capital goods, and you have to many a times import those machines. उनके इंपोर्ट के ऊपर इंपोर्ट ड्यूटी देते हैं, एक्सपोर्ट के ऊपर एक्सपोर्ट ड्यूटी देते हैं. बट टू प्रमोट एक्सपोर्ट, now, the export promotion capital goods scheme allows you to have zero duty on the imports of these capital goods, particularly if you want to produce material goods for export purposes. तब आपको ये EPCG का scheme का benefit मिलता है. अच्छा, there are exemptions that are granted against this RODTEP scheme, which is remission of duties and taxes on export products. So this remission benefits, they are granted. There are exemptions that are granted under advance authorization, EPCG scheme, EOU, etc. All these primarily from custom duties, IGST, which is integrated GST, वो तब लगता है जब आप किसी गुड को import करते हैं या export करते हैं, and not from embedded taxes like electricity duty, diesel, petrol taxes, etc. So exemption is being granted for specific taxes, but not embedded taxes. They are not being exempted. So you are still paying electricity duty, diesel, petrol taxes, etc., etc. So what is the suggestion? The suggestion is that RODTP benefits, they are to be extended to advance authorization holders, EOUs on priority basis. उनको देना चाहिए. Further, there are challenges of pendency, a long list of pending cases. They are there with respect to redemption of benefits under advance authorization scheme and various other schemes. So there is a need of sorting out all these cases immediately by withdrawing the pre-import condition retrospectively. तो प्री इंपोर्ट कंडीशंस क्या है? बेसिकली वो कंडीशन जिसके बेसिस पर आपके किसी भी गुड्स को प्रोड्यूस करने में बिफोर द इंपोर्ट ऑफ एनी any raw material, any capital good for that matter, the aspects of that industry or raw materials of that industry, they are being taxed. तो वो जो प्री इंपोर्ट कंडीशंस हैं कि ये ऐसे होना चाहिए या इंपोर्ट इस तरीके से होगा, इस पे ये ड्यूटीज लगेंगी, they need to be basically sorted out. If this is not possible, then examination of pre-import conditions should be limited to actual violation based on actual import with respect to export and should not be based on the licensing period. So license ke basis par there should be no exploitation in the sector. All right. Then various other suggestions that we see with respect to this particular aspect of ensuring a better and smooth functioning foreign trade policy or export policy. Government should consider details of imports and against each authorization on individual merits, help them redeem such cases. है ना? So this should happen further to achieve a 1000 billion export target by 2030, which is basically 1 trillion exports, 1 trillion US dollars of worth of exports. This is the target that we are wanting. तो उस केस के अंदर आपको pending cases, pendant lit is the phrase, technical phrase that is utilized in this case, is in a justified and a time bound manner. You will have to resolve these cases further. Manufacture and other operations in custom warehouse moved. This particular scheme has to further be streamlined, smoothened up. Manufacture and other operations in custom warehouses. So this scheme was introduced in 2019 just to facilitate duty-free imports for exports. तो आप एक्सपोर्ट करने के लिए कोई चीज इंपोर्ट कर रहे हैं, उस केस के अंदर आपको customs warehouse and various other operations associated with manufacturing of these products, उस केस में थोड़ा स्ट्रीमलाइनिंग की जरूरत है. Now this scheme is similar to EOU scheme, which is Export Oriented Units scheme under the Foreign Trade Policy. There is a complicated methodology that is being deployed with respect to EOU, the Export Oriented Unit scheme as well, and it has dual monitoring program. One is done by the Development Commissioner, another one is done by the Customs Department. So that should not be done. ये significant ambiguities create करता है in the scope of operations. It depreciates the provisions relating to capital goods. The benefits that they have to bring, वो उतने benefits ला नहीं पाते हैं. So what is suggested? They are suggesting that it is better to bring about a simple methodological change for conversion of existing units under EOU scheme into moved scheme. Alright? So basically EOU से आप move की ओर चले जाएं, it is far better. Then imports are subject to compliance with domestic laws as that has been outlined by the foreign trade policy. Alright guys? Now, having understood all of this, I hope you have covered the entire aspect. Now, right now, we will call it a day. But before we call it a day, I want to again share some really relevant information to you with you all of you guys. The fact is that we are running multiple courses on Unacademy platform. Sriram IAS is hoping to get a very detailed approach and give you a comprehensive support that will help you qualify the exam, be it prelims, mains, or interviews. Make sure that you follow every single initiative that Sriram Gayas is bringing for you guys. What you have to do to get this 25% discount, you have to use this referral code, that is SRIRAMS. Further, you have to make sure that you check out the foundation batches. You have to make sure that you check out the comprehensive batch on geography optional as well. It is not just geography, it is also anthropology as an optional subject that we are bringing to you guys. So you have around 8 optional subjects that are available in course format in comprehensive manner that is being covered on Unacademy platform. So be it anthropology, be it your geography, public administration, which is I am taking, sociology, history, economics, all the political science, PSIR, for example, all these economy, history, all these important optional subjects that you pick up. The institution that is Sriram's IS has brought various comprehensive courses for all these particular optional subjects. Follow them through and through. Follow all the mentors, including me and Anjum sir on Unacademy platform. Also, you have this foundation batch which we are running particularly for 2024. If you're planning to appear in the next year, then you should follow this course. It is a comprehensive course, prelims, mains, interviews, every aspect is being covered, and by top educators. You guys are getting the best of the best of the best. Make sure to follow us on Unacademy platform. आज अभी फिलहाल इतना ही करेंगे. Just remember this. All right. Now, I thank you all for attending this session. That is it for today. Thank you. Take care and God bless you all. Bye bye.